Hello everybody, Road Warrior 627 back here with you for the third video of the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. This is the second of the three full day previews, and it is the preview for Friday, June the 10th. We've got a post time of 12:50 and we've got an 11 race card. Now, we've talked about the rain that's coming in tonight when this video comes out, Wednesday night into Thursday. So we might have turf racing affected tomorrow with the video we put out earlier today for Thursday. But hopefully by Friday everything's fine. I don't know about my two guests, who I'll introduce in a minute. I don't know how they're dealing with the turf, but I'm playing, or at least handicapping the turf on this video as if everything's going to be fine. Maybe a little bit more towards good than firm, but it doesn't really make a difference for me anyway. So let me introduce those two guests. They're two people that have been on already on the first two Belmont Stakes Racing Festival previews. We've got Sammy Roseman.
I'm back again.
And Jack Sargent.
Hello.
No surprise, let's dive into this card. Right here, we've got the first race. It's a mile maiden special weight on the main track. And this is kind of a tough race for me because there's two Chads in here. Neither of them ran good first time out in their first races at Keeneland. I thought the three should have won that race, and I thought the one was just very disappointing. Command Performance is in here. Everybody knows about Command Performance. I can't touch that horse with a 10-foot barge pole until he wins. Shreveport for Belmont just makes me a little bit scared because I like Billy's second time. But actually in this first race, if you know me well, this is it. I'm going with the first time starter on the outside, Warrior Nation. Look, Road Warrior. Man, that works out just great. For my favorite trainer, you might think Chad or Christoph are my true favorite trainers. Not true. Charlie Baker is my favorite trainer. I'm taking this horse. As Sammy mentioned right before we came on, this horse was off for a year and a half, as you can see in the workouts here, but this horse has plenty of workouts coming into here. I think the horse is ready to run, and plus the race is a mile, so he'll have more time to really get into the rhythm. I'm not too worried about it. Always love firsters at a mile as compared to the sprints, so I'm going to go with the 7 and use a little bit of the other 3 as well, the 1, 3, and 5. Where are you guys going?
I'm actually going to be joining you on the first time starter Warrior Nation in here. I was I was in the same way that you were. I was thinking 7-5 in here. I ultimately decided to defer to the 7, but I was also afraid of the Belmont trainee in this race. But as I said, I'm going with the 7, joining you on the 7.
This is a very good maiden race, but I went with the 3 Atrocious, the favorite, Chad Brown, IRAD. This horse in his debut was just all over the place. I don't know. This horse, he was, I think it was like near the last. I think he was last, going right near last, going around the far turn. He just really kicked on. He'll like the Belmont. He'll like Belmont. He's been working well. Mile will help him, and I think he probably wins this race if he fires. But a very good maiden race for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting to start. I'm not usually a fan of the dirt maiden races. I prefer the turf, but that's what we get in the second race. We're going to move on to the second race here. We got a mile and a 16th on the inner of configuration at Belmont that almost always favors speed. This is a low-level maiden race. Personally, I have to go with my 2 angles in here because I think this field kind of sucks, and the first angle is another first-time starter. Yes, I'm just going to play the firsters until one of them wins. This horse has had a ton of workouts, is ready. There was one gap to be concerned about between April 12th and May 8th, but it was something minor considering the horse has had 4 coming back since then. Jeremiah Englehart is good with first-time starters, so I'll take that. And of course, the other horse I'm going to use is Chad Brown's horse, who on paper does not look good, but he's Chad, and everybody else in here doesn't look that good either. So I have to stick to my principles. Just taking a quick. I mean, that's another thing with the firster. How good does this firster have to be to hit this field? These horses are bad. Wow. What do you guys think?
Just keep copycatting you, Andrew. But I'm also on the first time starter in here, number 6, and dial me in. And that was kind of the same angle that I had, is that, he is the only one in this field that doesn't have a start, and everyone else in this field is kind of bad. I don't want to take Chad at a short price, and anything else I feel like I'm reaching with. I thought about Mike Maker, but I take a Mike Maker horse of this competition level if he was 20-1 on the morning line, but can't do it 3-1 morning line. So I'm going to take the first time starter, and maybe we'll hit the board here.
I'm actually going to take a shot with the 9 here, Exotic Cat. If you look at speed figures here, not that it really matter, but he has the highest speed figure that he ran a couple races ago at Belmont Park. I mean, this race is just really bad. He hasn't ran since December. A Mountain Ace is too far, and maiden special is just not his level. When he ran in a maiden claiming race, about a Mountain 16th, and ran about third. At big odds, he'll probably be around 20-1, 15-1. There's just not really much to like here, so why not just take a shot? I think Louis Cardenas has been riding decent. He's actually been decent this year since coming back from his injury, so I'll take a shot with him.
Yeah, I really wouldn't fault you for trying any kind of price in this race. Let's move on to the third race now. We've got our first of 5 stakes races. It's the Bed of Roses, and we've got 3 horses at extremely short morning line odds. I did not think this would be the way the morning line would set up. I thought that Easy to Bless would get a little more respect. And as far as I'm concerned, I think all these horses have a chance to win this race. The top 3 are all good, and if the top 3 don't run, Easy to Bless is no bum. So, out of a very small selection, who'd you guys go with here?
I didn't want to pick Bella Sophia, but I couldn't find a reason that she wouldn't win this race, so I picked her. I picked 90% favorites overall in this entire card. You'll hear that on Saturday, or for the Saturday preview. So just embracing the chalk here. Hopefully, Bella Sophia is a little bit better than she, because I wasn't overly impressed with the race that she had in the vagrancy. So hopefully she's a little bit better than that. But we'll see what ends up happening in this race. But I think she should win.
I'm with Jack here. I like Bella Sophia. I mean, I really wish Frank's Rocket was in this race, because I would have probably picked her. Bella Sophia was off the layoff. She just loves Belmont Park, and if there was more horses and speed, obligatory would be the pick. But I don't think the horse can get the setup, especially in a 4-horse field. So I'm with Bella Sophia, the chalk. Probably gonna be a lot of saying that. There's gonna be a lot of chalk this weekend.
My pick in here is Glass Ceiling for Charlie Baker. I love this horse's consistency. This horse just been on an absolute freaking roll, been beating good other horses. I do want to mention, I think Easy to Bless is a really good horse, and chances are she will run last in here, but I will put $1 win in place on this horse just for shits and giggles, for lack of a better word, because I'm really a fan, and I'm a big fan of Jimmy Ferraro, who trains her. So I will be 2 with a tiny bit of 4 just for laughs. Let's move on to the 4th race. We've got a nice high-priced allowance race on the dirt, 6 furlongs. We've got Chad's number 1, Silly K, coming off a layoff from last year. And then we've got another Charlie Baker horse. He is very prominent early in this card in Prisoner, who, of course, had a giant break himself before coming back to win 2 races this year. This will be my focus in this race, is the 1 and the 2. I'm going to box these 2 and play Prisoner to win. What do you guys think about the 4th race?
I'm also going to be on Prisoner. I'm going to play Prisoner on top here. I didn't dislike Chad's horse in here, but I wanted to. We got to make money some way on some of these cards, so I can be a little bit more freelancing with the allowance races. So I'm going to take Prisoner. Probably will come down from that 4-1 morning line, but I think you still got a decent chance to get him at second choice here, and if he wins, he'll probably make you more money than most of the other races later on in this card.
When I opened up the PPs earlier today, I was like, "Yep, this is my pick, Prisoner." I mean, I still don't know why Todd dropped that horse for 25,000. I mean, if this horse wins this race, they have to go to stakes competition. Absolutely, after this. I just think this horse is improving again, and you're not gonna get 4-1, but he's the pick for me.
Yeah, this is definitely a step up for him, but I think he can handle it. I think this horse is very good, and he showed it in that debut way back. I just want to mention quickly there is a horse in here named Striking Speed that my dad has been chasing all winter and spring long, and nothing's working for this horse. Finally, last time they cut, well, actually, 2 starts ago, they come back to 7 furlongs. They tried 7 furlongs again, and the horses ran the best race that he has recently, and the cut back to 6 is absolutely the right call. This horse should be running 6 furlongs, no doubt about it. So maybe I use a little Striking Speed underneath, but this is a major step up for Striking Speed. And this horse has been up in high level claiming races, and now he's taking a massive other jump. I don't get it. Eduardo Jones is one of the sneakiest guys you could ever find at the racetrack, so we'll have to keep an eye on this horse for sure. The other ones I didn't really like. Let's move on to the 5th race. This is another big time purse allowance race on the Widener. There are a lot of ways to go in here. What I decided to do was combine my 2 usual trainers, those being Chad and Clement, with a little bit of an outsider, and that is Neil Drysdale's horse, number 7, with Dylan Davis. This horse is pretty consistent and should show up with a good effort here. Now, you see, Neil Drysdale has ran this horse in New York a bunch of times over, and the horse has been pretty good, so that's why you see the 7-2. This, though, is the horse to play to win, and that's Chad's horse. Chad's horse is trying the turf for the first time. Now, after 5 starts, you might think, well, Chad, well, he just thinks the horse can't run on dirt, so he's just blindly trying. If you look at the pedigree, you've got Danzig and Tappet way back. So that's dirt. Isn't it true, though, that Warfront produces some turf horses?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I'm definitely going to be playing the 8. You get the Rat up as well. And then the other horse, of course, that I'm going to focus in on is Messidor for Clement. Castellano riding for Clement lately has been a good combination, so we're going to try and get that at 10-1. I'll have a small win bet on this horse too, but most of it will be through the 8, and I'm going to box the 3 of those. Unfortunately, I have to throw out Screamin' By in here, and also Always Late. I just don't think Screamin' By measures up to the rest of this field, and I think Always Late is just not good value. So I'm going to have to throw those 2 out, as much as they're Mott and Donk. They're guys I like too, but I can't play 5 horses in the one race.
For me in this race, if you remember back to the video that we did yesterday, race 5 on Thursday, there was a horse that I picked whose name, or I'm sorry, I don't have the race number correct. I don't have it in front of me, but the horse that I picked in the particular race that she's entered in was Alara. And she was 3rd in an allowance race number 4 at Aqueduct on Wood Memorial Day. Well, the 3 in this race, Ready to Venture, she was 2nd in that race. So I'm going to sell out on that race and play the 2 horses that are coming out of that effort. Ready to Venture is coming out of a 6.5 furlong race on the all-weather up at Woodbine, where she won by 5 3/4 lengths. So I'm going to hope that the extra half furlong isn't going to be too much of a problem for her. She ran well at Aqueduct on the turf, and then her first start in the U.S., which was down at the fairgrounds in March. That was off of a pretty significant layoff, and she was 3rd there. So it has not missed the board in 3 starts in the U.S., and we'll see if she can get another allowance victory in this race.
I'm with Andrew on the 8. Chad, Irad, first time turf for Warfront. I don't think they're going to get 8-1. I mean, they obviously thought something with this horse because Shadwell put $1 million on this horse. But I don't really like anything else in this race. It just seems like typical New York allowance race. So I'll say Chad and Irad when in doubt.
Okay, that's for sure. That's always a good idea. Let's move on now to the 6th race. We're actually breezing through this card compared to the other 2 previews we've done. And this is a maiden special on the inner turf. And I absolutely hate this race. I find nothing interesting. Clement's in here, but Yarrow is a horse I've never liked throughout his career. So what am I going to do? Jimmy Jerkins' first time starter. I'm going to have $1 to win on this horse. I feel zero confidence except for one thing, and that's Dylan Davis. I think Dylan will give this horse every chance possible to win, assuming Jerkins is trying to win this race. Hell, he could just be out for an education. Definitely the least confident of the firsters I've talked about so far today is this one, especially because it's only 6 furlongs. The horse has a bad break. The horse is going to be done. And Jimmy Jerkins, I mean, what can you say about the firsters? He just doesn't do it. But who else in this race is there to like? This is a race I'm going to be largely staying away from. Just can't get beat by the 5 in case he does win. And I guess I'll box him with Yarrow. But I don't like Yarrow either. This race just really disappointed me.
I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the last race and sell out on another one of my picks that I had on yesterday's card, Thursday. There's a horse who again, I don't remember what race number I picked him in, but I picked Sinful Dancer in one of the races on Thursday's card. And the number 1 for Linda Rice, Feathers Road, in this race, finished in front of him in a maiden race at Aqueduct on the 3rd of April. There. So I'm going to, once again, sell out on that angle. Now, it should be mentioned, obviously, Feathers Road didn't win that race, but he was second in front of that horse. And Feathers Road has hit the board in 6 of 8 career starts. I should say, he's been in the money in 6 of 8 starts. He's hit the board 6 times and been in the money 5 of 8. So excuse my mess up there, but overall, some consistency, and then just kind of doing the same thing that I did. If that horse wins on if Sinful Dancer wins on Thursday, then I'll feel a little bit better about this. But I kind of in the same way with Andrew. I'm just selling out of my angle from yesterday.
I actually like Fuso, the 6 for IRAD. I like how this horse hasn't ran since November, but I'm not concerned. I like Serpy's horses a lot. I feel like he runs well because he doesn't have that many horses. So when he runs, this horse tired out in his November race, but I feel like his work's been good, and now IRAD gets the board. I'm sure IRAD could have got another horse if he wanted to, in a way. The 7 was interesting with Pratt Henning, but Henning is still winless. Looks like at Belmont, so I'll take Fuso at 12-1.
All right, so one thing I also need to mention is the numbers 1 and 9, Dream Point and Feathers Road, are coming out of being beaten by the greatest close that I've ever seen, that being Marinara Sauce, who was a first-time starter for Chad Brown back on Preakness Day. Chad Brown made me almost all my money on Preakness Day, and this was the first part of that, when Marinara Sauce came from 25 lengths behind to get up in the last stride. It was the most impressive close I've ever seen by any horse in any race. And these two just managed to lose to that horse. Now, the time was not impressive. It was a yielding course. It's a very tough situation to make a figure for. I can't bet these horses because they've had a bunch of chances. I don't bet horses that have had this many chances to win and can't win. But I did need to mention the whole thing with the Marinara Sauce race. Up next is race number 7. Another, love these high priced allowance races, does the New York Racing Association on the day before the Belmont Stakes. We've got Mott's horse number 1 coming off a large layoff. There should be like 4 or 5 layoff lines there, not just 2. This is a joke. I can't believe this horse is even here. You need to look through these horses. What do you see early in almost all these horses? A lot of 1s here, right? I'm usually not too big of a pace handicapper. It's just not what I do. But this really jumped off the page, all the 1s that I saw. So I know it never materializes in New York, but I'm going to try and find somebody to come from slightly behind. And I think that horse could be Ruvy's in time. Jose Ortiz is a pretty smart guy, and this horse has sat back before. Now, this is the first time Jose's going to get to ride him, but I'd imagine he does his homework, and I think this horse could sit a nice trip off the abundance of speed in here, assuming that the speed does go. Now, of course, Rudy does have another horse in the race, and that's number 5, Baba, at a slightly shorter morning line price. This horse rates to be right up on the lead. Chad's horse, who's the even money favorite. This is when you don't play Chad, people. Even money on the dirt. This horse, sure, might just win the race, but there's no value in there. Todd's horse has speed. So I'm going to be mainly focusing on Ruvies and time in here. Of course, I'll have to use the other Rudy just out of principle. And then I'm going to box those two with the favorite in Chad. So I'm going to box 3, 5, 6 in the 7th race.
So another point from yesterday's video, if you remember the nightcap of Thursday's card, I referenced the fact that Eric, who I do Racing Rundown with, worked with Ray Handel last summer, and I was talking about a filly who Eric said was his favorite one to work with in the barn. That was actually not the horse that the horse that I was referencing there was not the one that I picked in that close or in that nightcap there. That's actually the 4 in this race, Mischievous Diane, and she's actually been in pretty decent form as of late. Now, this is a big step up for her because she's coming into this race off a break and she's running against Elders in here. So it's a big ask for her, but she's running against halfway. She's been running against halfway decent competition. So she, on debut, was beat less than 2 lengths by a filly named Sweet as Pie, who has been entered in stakes races before for Todd Pletcher. She won an allowance race pretty well at Keeneland on the 10th, and she was in the Tempted in the Silver Bullet Day Stakes earlier on in the year. Didn't perform too well there. I think she was actually close to odds on in the Silver Bullet Day, but that's beside the point. She's okay, not great, but there's decent form there. And then she was beat ahead in her second career start by Kathleen O. If you fancy Kathleen O in the Kentucky Oaks, then certainly a reason to like Mischievous Diane in this race. And then obviously she took out her most recent effort on the 11th of December she did that. Like Andrew said, though, there's a lot of horses on the lead. She was on the lead in that start. But in her career debut, she didn't have to be on the lead. So hopefully if there are hopefully if the race is setting up that there's a bunch of speed, she takes back here. But I think she's got a chance. She's got questions to answer. But she's not going to be favored in this race. And like I said, I usually tend to trust Eric's judgment with some of the horses that he worked with during his time with Ray.
I found the 4 interesting too. But I kind of like Jane Gray. You like Sammy. The horse has raced in September of 2020. The horse won at Saratoga very impressively in 122 and 4. The horse is coming back to 6, but the works have been good. 2 out of 117 and 47, 49, 48, a minute flat, basically. I mean, this is the race, like Andrew referenced earlier, not to pick Chad in, because Chad doesn't seem to win these kind of races. So I'll take a shot with the 1. Not really a shot, but kind of like the horse, so.
I'm definitely scared of Belmont, Sammy, but I just think that people will bet this horse, and I just think that kind of price, that 4 to 1. Now, if she drifts up like 9, 10 to 1, I'll have to probably use this horse, or I'll use her in some way. But if you're talking about a price that short, I just can't take it with that much time. All right, race number 8 is the 2-mile race. It's the Belmont Gold Cup. I have a very strong opinion in here, and it's not about any particular horse, actually. What I plan on doing is using the 2 foreigners pretty heavily, that being the 1 and the 4. My strategy in here is to play against Aban. I know, if you look back here, 2-mile race, right? He won the 2-mile race. He won the 2-mile race impressively. In command throughout is the comment line. This horse is going to go to the front and try and take him all the way. The Belmont Gold Cup is not often won by horses that do this, and if you watch Aban's Man of War, I was just so underwhelmed. I thought that he and the 2 big names in there, Gufo and Yabir, were the only 3 who could win that race, and this horse finished last behind both the winner, the Grab Motion horses running the Manhattan Highland Chief, and Easter, who's also not bad. But Aban lost to Easter, and Aban's been a proven stakes horse for how long now? I cannot stand 5 to 2 on this horse at all. This is the horse I'm absolutely trying to beat in here. Now, I don't think this is a race where you can really get rich, because I can't figure out the Americans in here and who I like, because none of them really have the super long distance experience. Strong Tide has a little bit of it for Mike Lauer. I know this is a horse that my dad looked at a little bit, but It's hard for me to figure this one out. This could be a very just dabble in race for me. Not tackle real big. Just box the 1 and the 4 a little bit for maybe $2 and watch, maybe play the longer one to win. I normally am a little bit more enthused by this race. Not this time.
Yeah, Europe didn't really send that many. Europe only sent 2 horses over, and they weren't. These 2 horses aren't really too good of level competition horses. I'll start with the 4. The 4 is coming out of some races over in Europe, but the 4 hasn't gone. Outbox hasn't gone 2 miles in his career, so that's certainly something that is a little bit. For me, he did win a Group 1, but that was in Doha Qatar, so the competition level there is rather iffy, and he was beaten in a couple of group stakes earlier on in this year, one at Newmarket, one at Newbury. So, the form is not great, and I don't love that that Outbox doesn't have experience over 2 miles. That's why I went with the German horse in here, Loft. I agree with Andrew. There is ways to look against Europe in here on Racing Rundown. Actually, Eric took a shot in this race with the Canadian in this race. So if you're interested to hear the angle, you can check us out on Racing Rundown to hear Eric's thoughts on this race. But the reason I picked the German horse here is because the German horse has experience going 2 miles. That was the most recent race that he won, the Group 2 in Germany. I'm also of the belief that a Bond should be played against. I wanted to pick him, but I was very underwhelmed by the Man of War, as was Andrew. So I'm going to take the 1 in here. Hopefully Europe doesn't take too much money in here, but I think that's certainly a possibility. And, even then, I've just decided to embrace the chalk this whole weekend.
I'm actually going to pick a Bond. Before I get back onto him, about Outbox, nobody should be concerned about the 2 miles. The horse already went 1.75 miles, lost to the horse that won the Coronation Cup on Epsom Oaks Day last weekend. But a Bond, you could at 2 miles, I trust him here. I don't really think there's gonna be that much speed either. So I think this horse will just do what he wants, and I think it's gonna be tough to catch him. But if he runs his Man of War where he practically had everything go his way, then he might not win. But I'll take a shot with him again. He'll probably be the post time favorite. Actually, Outbox will be, but he'll probably be like 3-1. So, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the 9th race. And the 9th race is the True North. And for the 2nd straight year in the True North, my favorite horse in training, pretty much. Yeah, it's close between him and Channel Maker. But running in the True North and is number 1. And that is Mr. Phil. I love Mr. Phil. I know who's in here. Don't stop me. I know who's in here. I have to bet this horse to win. And I love him. I can't believe that Aragona only made him 5-1. I'm surprised by that. If he is 5-1, that's a horrible price on Mr. Phil. Now, if you look at figures, yeah, he's there, but this is a class test of class tests. And that's mainly due to the presence of this horse right here, number 3, Jackie's Warrior, who just embarrassed everybody in the Churchill Downs last time. Just made it look like a stroll through Central Park, or whatever your local park is. Baby Yoda comes back. He's won 2 races in a row. A couple of good seconds there, especially the one in Tampa was okay. But this horse is just... Everybody freaked out once they saw that big race at Saratoga, and people thought he was going to be the greatest thing. He proved his more... What would you say? He proved he was human in the Vosburg. And then since then, not too impressive. So I think 8-1 on him is like a little less than fair. I think he should be around 10-1. I think Mr. Phil should be around 6 or 8-1. Sound Money, I think, is possibly dangerous if he works out the right trip and they go too fast in here. Let's say Mr. Phil and Jackie's Warrior kill each other, but I don't think that's really going to happen. Sound Money can come and pick the pieces up. Look, this is just a freaking... He's my favorite, so I have to play Mr. Phil. In reality, Jackie's Warrior should kill this field.
Yeah, Jackie's Warrior's going to win this race, and it's really going to be a procession more so than anything else. I'll throw in one final note here. If you've ever wondered why I don't ever use a speed figure, Baby Yoda is big reasons why. I'm not going to get into the Vosberg because I'll start dunking too much on speed figures. But point is with this race, if it's not a procession for Jackie's Warrior, then that just sets the tone for a bunch of things not making sense on Saturday because Jackie's Warrior has infinite class on everybody else in this field.
Jackie's Warrior. Let's move on to the next race.
Okay, enough said from Sammy. Let's move on to that next race, and this is an example of where I start getting mad at Chad Brown and Peter Brandt. Because this, in my opinion, I know that you guys are not fans of coupling and all that stuff, but tell me how Chad Brown and Peter Brandt should be allowed to have 4 horses in a race uncoupled. One of them's also owned by Michael Tabor in a partnership with Peter Brandt, who's the horse they paid $3 million for. But the other 3 are all singly owned by Peter Brandt. They're all uncoupled. This is a freaking joke, and it makes it almost impossible to play the race. Now, in a normal situation, I'd try to pick the longest Chad. And Flighty Lady is the longest Chad. Well, I just don't think this horse is good enough. Rougier, you saw what she did last time. It was great. I don't have much else to say. My horse to possibly spoil a little bit of an upset is Virginia Joy. I think Virginia Joy will be kept close by Trevor McCarthy, and I think this horse will have a nice stalking trip here in the New York that often works out. New York is often won by horses on or near the lead, as are many mile-and-a-quarter races at Belmont. The turf may be a little bit on the good side, and this horse destroyed the field in the Sheepshead Bay over yielding ground that same day when Chad pulled his thing with L'Imperador in the Fort Marcy. So I like that horse of the Chads. I think Bleecker Street last time, yeah, the horse won, but the horse was even money, and I really don't care. I think Virginia Joy might get a little bit ignored in here, and I think the price that you see there, 3-1, might inflate just a little bit because you've got Trevor McCarthy as compared to the other riders. So let's be honest here. I don't know how I'm going to play the race. I just could tell you that I prefer Virginia Joy out of all the 4 Chad and Peter Brandt horses. Rougier's the horse to beat off the last race, but I just think there is a scenario that makes sense where Virginia Joy can win.
I completely agree with you on the point with Virginia Joy. I've been very annoyed with how much she's been overlooked going into this race, and trust me, I'm the founder of the Bleecker Street backers. I had her at Tampa when she was 7-1 there, so I love me some Bleecker Street. But the effort by Virginia Joy in the Sheepshead Bay was very, very good, and I think that she's going to be overlooked. And I don't agree with the folks who are backing Bleecker Street over her. As much as I like Bleecker Street, I think Virginia Joy going 1.25 miles is better than Bleecker Street. But Rougier's a Group 1 winner. She won the Prix at Paris Longchamp last year. And she was exiting the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf last year, which has just been an incredible field of horses. And her effort in the Beaugay was fantastic. Peter Brandt paid $3.3 million for her for a reason. She should win this race, but I think it's going to be her and Virginia Joy, not her and Bleecker Street.
Poor Chad Brown has to run all of his horses against each other. But I agree with Jack. Rougier, she actually picked her in that race in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. But her last race in the Beaugay was very impressive. I mean, she, like he said, she's a Group 1 winner, and I just think she's the class of this race. It's a very good field. I mean, partly because of Chad Brown. But actually, it is because of Chad Brown. But, yeah, Rougier for me here.
Okay, everybody, now we've got just one race left, and for some reason, they decided to end Friday's card with a stake. And that stake is the Intercontinental, a staple of the couple of days before the Belmont Stakes, whatever way they do it. Now, I was originally concerned in here that I was going to have to box 5 horses. So I quickly realized after looking at the grass is blue that I don't need to include this horse. This horse is too slow. Motion springs upsets, but this will be $1 win in show, something like that. I need to stick to the other guys that actually have chances to win. Now, if Christoph was 50-1, I'd still play the horse normally because that's how much confidence I have in him. Now, this horse is a little slow and needs to get better too, but there's nobody I'd rather have than Christoph. So I have to use the 3. I also have to use some horses further down the line. Let me find them. And those horses are number 9, Illegal Smile for Wesley Ward. Wesley Ward excels at these distances. Now, the one thing that worries me is that this horse is stretching out. I'd rather have horses turning back to 7 furlongs on the turf, but it's still Wesley Ward. Now, speaking of turnbacks, this is the one. This is the horse I'm playing to win, is Nevesian Sunrise, number 12 for Chad, and IRAT. I absolutely love the cutback to 7 furlongs. I think this horse will sit that mid-pack trip. Losing ground on the Widener is bad, but it's not as bad as losing ground on the inner. I know.
Andrew, I don't mean to cut you off. The race is 6 furlongs.
What?
I don't know if that changes. Yeah, they shortened it. I don't know if that changes anything, but this race is
Really?
6 furlongs.
Oh,
Yep.
that's not what I prefer. All right. It's still Chad at 8-1, so I guess I still have to pick the horse. I feel better about Wesley now, though. I'll tell you that for sure. Definitely feel better about the 9. But I got to stick with Chad from the win money perspective, I would say. And turning back from a mile to 6 furlongs isn't the worst thing in the world. I was so used to this race being 7 furlongs. And you know what, Jack? I think I did the same thing last year, and you said the same thing to me. I swear to God, I think the same thing happened last year when we did this video. And then finally, number 13 is Miss J. McKay, who enters out of that license fee stakes where she was pretty short price. Yeah, this horse is good. Should sit the 6 furlongs just fine. Impressive winner last time, big figure. The only way she can not run well in here is if she gets Rosario'd. So, the main horses in here for me, I'm going to spend the money. That would be 3, 9, 12, and 13. Hopefully the ground loss doesn't affect these horses too much, but to me, I'm getting prices on the guys who win. That's who I'm going to play. There's others in here. Not sure if you guys like them, so let's hear who you guys like now.
I like the 1 Star Divine in this race. She's coming out of a runner-up effort behind Campanelli at Keeneland in the Giants Causeway Stakes. Before that, she was a stakes winner at Saratoga. Both of those races were going 5.5. I feel like stretching out may do her a little bit of good. And Campanelli's a winner at Ascot, so the class is certainly there from that last effort. She had no chance to get to her because obviously she's running against Campanelli, but there is some reason to think that she could run well in here, and I'm going to take the chance with it.
I like Miss J. McKay. Taking the chance to not get Rosario, but her last win on May 1st at Belmont, the same distance, she won very impressively. You get Joelle up. This race is very wide open. I think a lot of horses can win this race, so I think the outside post is actually going to help this horse because Rosario, who bring the horse wide, but who knows how wide. So I'll take Miss J. McKay. 9-2 is probably fair value for this horse, but you can go many directions in this race.
My concern is that this is a big field, Sammy, with Miss J. McKay, and that's why I'm picking Chad's horse over this one. And I think the ground loss is not as significant on the Widener turf as we said, and I think Rosario doesn't understand that, and I think he might try and get this horse in some kind of seam and then get in some trouble. That's what I'm worried about with Miss J. McKay. I think actually in this situation going wide might save this horse rather than trying, because this field is full of horses that are unproven, really. Who knows what's going to happen around the far turn, if horses are going to start dropping back, and then anyone who gets squeezed, like Rosario does all the time, is just going to be done. and have to re-rally in the stretch, and it's going to be too late. That's the one thing I totally worry about Rosario in here. So I hope for your sake and my sake, because I need this horse to run good too, that Rosario keeps her out of trouble. Any other thoughts on the Intercontinental? I know it's really wide open. Any other horses you like? There's so many in here.
Not particularly for me. I kind of just took my one horse in the Intercontinental and moved on, which probably might work to my detriment, but it was a busy week, so kind of had to sacrifice some races.
Maybe Flower Point a little bit, but I like my horse. So.
Don't talk about Flower Point. Flower Point beat me out of $150 last year on June 19th. Oh, hate Flower Point. Bad horse right here. Anyway, that's it, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. This was the preview for the 11 races on Friday, June the 10th, the day before the Belmont Stakes, the second day of the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. We hope you enjoyed, and you guys do well. Have to say, one more video. Belmont Stakes Day. God knows how long this video is going to be. We'll try and skip right over the Belmont Stakes in some way, or we'll just refer you to the video that we made for 80 minutes on that race. That will be coming out tomorrow. This video comes out Wednesday night. That video will come out tomorrow, Thursday evening, hopefully not too late. Will you guys be on it? Both of you? One of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be joining you.
Okay, well, see the three of us tomorrow, guys. Thank you both for coming again. Pay your bills first, and may the odds continue to be in your favor.